I liked. Barnier. I liked. I think last time when you were like, "Are we live?" Yeah, you were like, "Oh, I just got the thinger that we're live." Are we live? I think we might be. I think we are, Shane.
Yeah, I can see it live. See the little red light in the corner.
Good Lord. That's your line. But, yeah, we might just give the raging fans a chance to check in. I think, yeah, g'day, Connor. Connor says, "Hey, horse, what's going on there?"
G'day, Connor. How are you, buddy? The horse is here.
Horse is in. But, yeah, so we had a bit of a request for us all to get a bit more engagement, I think the term was, with our raving fans. So we'll attempt to do that a little bit more this week as well. Thanks very much for joining us from wherever you are. Shout out to the Russians. Where else we had a couple of Canadians in there as well. I know we got some from the UK. Of course, our favourite Australians. But Nic Shane, welcome. Another week has gone. Fantastic to be here. It's been a little bit of about a couple of weeks off, obviously. Nic, how's yourself, mate? Might kick it off with you.
Hello, boys. Great to be back after a couple of weeks away. How good is it that footy's back? It's fantastic. It's great that the Up and About podcast is back, vidcast and the like, but footy is back. So good. How about you, Shane? Are you going well?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, very excited. So yeah, Thursday afternoon last week was quite difficult to get through, just with the expectation of Thursday evening festivities coming up and a couple of beers being consumed. But excellent round of footy, diversity of games. Can't wait to get through it. And
look, just a quick shout out to Lenny Phillips. Shane, you are on fire tonight, mate. So
yes,
nowhere to go fashion wise. 5 stars, brother. 5 stars is the call. But yeah, mate, before we kick into it, you do need to get on to your hat provider, whomever that is, because mate, I'm keen as a bean. I think Nick's probably on board as well.
Yeah, look, I'm more than happy to reach out to some of my pals from just around the corner from the red light district in lovely Amsterdam. So that's where I did purchase this hat many moons ago. So hoping to get back there at some stage in 21. So I've got a chance to go and roll the arm over in Yorkshire, but I'm sure I'll be getting to several other European countries while I'm over there. So I'll get a couple of Up and About podcast embossed tartan hats, and they'll be first packed.
You purchased a hat in the red light district of Amsterdam?
No, it was outside of the red light district, Nick. It was just around the corner, near those cafes.
Where was that? Did you recall the name?
I don't know. No, it was some blue lights there. I don't know. Yeah, it was all very.
There was plenty of lights. And quick shout out to Tish as well. Tish just getting amongst it. Does enjoy the show, obviously. But boys, look, it's great to be back. I might jump in first. I had 2.5 weeks off, reacquainted with the missus, which is always lovely. Moved house too, so now a proud, resident of Chapel Hill. It's very hilly, so I won't be going on too many jogs. But that was my week. Took a week off work, coincided with moving some heavy shit. Should have given Tish a shout out, obviously, but I wanted to cheap out. Sorry, Tish. But Shano, mate, what's the most exciting thing happening in your world this week, brother?
Well, mate, probably the most significant thing that's happened in my life in the past week, certainly the gym's opening, and all my loyal fan base, I'm sure they would have noticed that I've been probably partaking in a few additional carbohydrates over the period. So it was great to get back in the gym. I'm sure I'll be in tip-top nick before much time goes past. But also, it's a very brief one, just a shout out to a very good friend and a person who would absolutely love what we produce here. Young Skip turned 79 on Sunday. He's a loyal friend to a lot of people. So happy birthday, Skip. Hope you make it to 80. Doubtful.
Stolen.
I'm backing it from here. I'm backing it from here. All right, Nico.
Sorry, Nick.
Well, I'll have to say something like cooking one of my 3 Marley Spoon packaged meals that arrive each Sunday morning is one of my highlights. But without doubt, the highlight was I returned to a licensed premises. on Sunday. Yeah, and it was. I'm not going to lie to you. The first beer was putrid. There's no doubt that the taps mightn't have been cleaned. There might have been something just maybe there was coronavirus in the taps, but it was putrid the first one. So what do you do when the first one's bad? You just you keep going, and I managed to do that. And that was also Skip's birthday, so I'd like to send my well wishes to Skip. But considering he's got a Nokia 3310 and doesn't know how to store people's numbers, so when you call him, he doesn't know it's you. He won't know this ever happened. But Skip, we gave him a little birthday present. Maybe we'll talk about that at a later stage. But yeah, it's good to be normality creeping back in, isn't it?
It is. It's great to be back. Shout out on the Twitch handle going off there. Tony says a shout out to Shane. Crazy Dave doing what Crazy Dave does and getting all crazy up in Twitch. But anyway, let's get into some more serious stuff.
So many people have given shout outs to Shane, Nathan. It's unbelievable that this will just be a bit called Shane and About. We should just call it Shane and About. You and me are just the window dressing. You and me are the window dressing. Shane's tartan hat and stories about Amsterdam and apologies to people that we know nothing about.
He's a cultured man, Nico.
Come on, Nick.
Man. The people know it and they love it. So, mate, I'm more than happy to have the third segment should be maybe Shane's Up and About with Nathan and Nick. So
jump on board the Shane train, boys. Yep, lots of spots available. Yep.
Toot.
All right. Toot. All right, gents. Look, let's get on to popular segment, one of our favourites, the long bomb. We've got a couple. First one, we'll kick it off. It's a really interesting one. The Sean Burgoyne tackle on Mr. Patrick Dangerfield in his 250th. I think just quickly, I think Dangerfield did extremely well. He copped a bit of a hit and he's rolled over pretty much straight away and got up as quick as he could. You could tell visually in the replays, it was a bit daisy, but he tried to hide it as much as he could. Fantastic effort. But look, Nick, we'll bring you in straight away. What's your take? There's been a lot said. Burgoyne obviously copping a fine. They've made a rule change in the aftermath of it. Some people were calling to try and suspend him retrospectively, which I think just was never an option. So you're all fools if you thought that. But Nick, what's your take on it, mate? You know, are we beating a dead horse here? Is there some kind of validity in some of these comments? Where you at?
Oh, a couple of things. First of all, I did think that the AFL were going to appeal the decision. I thought it's definitely. I think no one's arguing it should have been at least a week, and some even arguing more. So I don't think that we're needing to argue the fact that he's a pretty lucky individual. The fact that he's a great bloke, been a great ambassador of the game, 360, 70 games. He's going to be the next player to play 400, maybe the last player to play 400. Who knows? But probably one thing. So I don't want to harp on the point he should have been suspended, but one thing probably people haven't picked up on is I reckon Dangerfield, he'll probably go into acting after footy. He's a bit of a unique character, but you see, you know, when people get knocked out and the stiff arm sort of thing happens, he does like a fake stiff arm. So I just wanted to highlight that. But it'd be remiss of me not to say that maybe the wider events of the week might have just made the match review panel a little bit edgy, and I think that Shawnee's very lucky. He takes his fine and moves on. Shane, are you of similar vein, mate, or are you thinking that all above board?
No, absolutely. It was a dangerous tackle. It's something that absolutely I can't believe in this modern age of incredible analysis on the impact of concussion that something like that could still be considered as a reasonable tackle. Like it just seems rather obvious. But also even the fact that Paddy Dangerfield did look dazed. I mean, isn't it still the responsibility, even though he got up and he did the tough thing and took his kick and played well afterwards, but I still think there should be some sort of process by which he goes off the ground and gets checked, because it was such a dangerous tackle, it was such a high impact to the neck and head region that there should have been some sort of effort, you would have thought, from the medical people to take him off and to examine him for a couple of minutes.
So is that why they arrive at it, Shane? Is that why they arrive at the decision? Because Dangerfield gets up, takes his kick, continues on. That's why he's not suspended. So we're actually creating a rule that's not written there. We're basing it on the injury or lack of.
Oh, absolutely. It's got to be about the act. The act there is absolutely inherently dangerous, and if a smaller bloke, a younger kid, like I don't know, look at a Noah Anderson who's a star, but someone like him got tackled in that scenario, there's absolutely no way that he'd be able to protect himself, and it would be a 2 to 3 week suspension, no doubt, based on the impact. But just because Paddy Dangerfield is he's done 15 or 10 pre-seasons over his journey, it shouldn't have any relationship whatsoever to the impact. It's got to be about the act.
And it's not the first time we're talking. Yeah, we're talking about intent versus result. It's not the first time this conversation's been had, and it's been had by a lot smarter gents than us. But is that something that, because it's consistently happened by the AFL, that is, do you think it's something that they do need to look at some point?
Yeah. Are you saying in relation to injury lining up, or saying how they eliminate it altogether?
No, I'm saying that, look, it's a tough one in the sense that the AFL, let's call it what it is, what they actually want to do in and throughout any sort of event is look after their image. Now, is it too much for me to say that the AFL cares more about their image than they genuinely care about the players? Well, that's an interesting point right there. So if that's the case, then, I guess it comes back to, I think you brought it up when we had discussions last year, Nick, the intent versus the result of the action. So if you've got, let's say a Barry Hall, for lack of a better example, if he throws a cheeky little left hook and drops someone, cuts his lip open, just because of the power of his body, he might get a couple of weeks more than someone that, say myself, throws a cheeky little right, puts everything into it, and barely calls it a graze. So
it's like society in a way, isn't it? If you got priors, you got priors, and there's probably the system's been overhauled. Was it last year that Chriso was as the hand of God in ruling with everything that came into play over the last couple of years? And there's been a couple of shockers. I think the AFL has appealed one off the top of my head. Maybe someone who's of more knowledge can tap into the conversation now and say if I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, it should have been suspended. It doesn't matter if it's Patrick Dangerfield getting tackled or a first gamer. It was a dangerous tackle. If the head's sacrosanct, it's sacrosanct. Whether they're knocked out or hit dangerously, it's the action. It's the action, not the consequence result.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, let's move on, boys. We've got the second long bomb for tonight. We'll hit you with a couple. We've got a bit of commentary around the idea of lifting the age of the draft. Shane, we had a conversation not 7 minutes before the kickoff of this little show with our intense pre-show research.
Nothing like a bit of prep.
R&D. Yep, exactly that. So let's bring you in first, mate. So look, I'm actually against it, but Shane, you're very much for it. So share your thoughts, brother.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, mate. Look, I think it's the primary thing from my perspective, I think, is that these kids should have the opportunity to finish school without having the obvious impact of the TAC Cup and all even though they'll still be involved in that sort of program, they'll be involved in representative programs at a younger age. I just think that there needs to be a higher level of priority put on the education of these kids, get them through to at least grade 12 if they elect to do that, and then it gives them that extra year to actually focus on their footy after they finish their education. The AFL is doing a lot of work on draftees and giving them opportunities for during their career for education and university and TAFE and whatever, so that they do hit the ground running beyond their retirement. So. But then I guess you look at Matty Rowell and Noah Anderson and these kids that came in and absolutely dominated for your boys on the weekend there, Barndog. And look, Rowell's a career footballer from a very young age. You could tell he was always going to get on that pathway. So that's my perspective. I know other people have their own views.
Nick, where are you sitting on it, mate? Leave it as it is. Lift the age. Where you at?
I've probably always been one that's thought that very rare for an 18-year-old to come in and dominate, and then we saw Matty Rowell on the weekend do what he did. I think that the most important thing is that let's not look at the here and now. Let's look at the end. I think the average AFL player lasts 3 years in the system. If you're putting all your eggs in that basket, and we see it, like I see kids playing underage football now that are probably never going to play senior football, that parents are drilling into them they're going to play AFL football. These kids start to believe that. Then they get to the end of the line, they don't get drafted, they probably don't continue on with football, and has a negative effect in all aspects of their life. So if we lifted that draft age, it's exposing those kids to playing senior footy maybe from age 16, so playing local footy. And if we're lifting it to, say, 20, those kids might have 25 to 50 is probably too much, 25 to 40 senior games of football where they can come in and it's an easier transition. Now, I know that community football's miles away from AFL football, so don't say I'm aligning it with that. What I'm saying is exposure to world as opposed to leaving school, which we know is you're very protected at school. The real world hits you 1,000 miles an hour. If these guys last in the system and they're not really seeing the real world until they retire or are delisted, we're putting them behind the 8 ball as humans in society. So it sounds pretty deep for me, but I would say Matt Rouse probably put the argument, as Shane said, towards leaving it, but I say 20, a couple of years out of school would make it better for not just their football career, but for their life, because football is such a small snippet of your life, but we love it.
Yeah, fair enough. No, valid points, mate. I was coming more from my whole take on it personally was, look, it's got to be a case-by-case scenario, doesn't it? I mean, you've got bigger bodies are coming through, smaller bodies are coming through, but, that mental part of it, and I guess the supportive network that they've got around them as well comes into play. But, look, moving on, a lot happened in the week that was the second round of the AFL kicking off in some very bizarre. It was one of the most weirdest games that I've ever seen. But anyway, shortened quarters, we had Collingwood versus Richmond. Nicky J, your boys. And I might just say out the gate, all of our teams got some points over the weekend there, gents. So congratulations to all. Nick, let's kick it off, mate. Collingwood getting some points with Richmond, 36 apiece. It was bizarre. I was entertained. Yeah. A lot's been said about it. Where are your thoughts?
Probably one of the, and people are going to say it's a Collingwood bias, and I'll be sure not to talk too much about Collingwood tonight, Lenny. But 36 all, that's six converted tries apiece. It was just, whoever had won, it didn't matter. A draw was, it's cliche to say fitting, but it was just a terrible game of football. The players, and you got to give them a bit of sway for the fact that they've been in isolation, haven't been doing much skill training, fitness levels are going to be down. The game plans have stayed the same, but the fitness levels aren't quite aligning with what is the coaches are hoping to see. So it was a pretty ordinary game, and I was worried for the rest of the round, but it was certainly, from what I saw, the worst game of the round. And I thought the AFL might be worried, thinking if that's what the best two teams of the comp are serving up. But there's some good footy after that. So shocking game of football. Shane, what did you think, mate?
Yeah, I absolutely agree, mate. Like the showpiece, the two incumbent premiership favourites. It was just a defensive ball fest. It was awful. Highest rating game. I'm guessing at that stage we would have had some rugby league and rugby union and soccer converts coming across and having a watch, and it absolutely wasn't a showpiece. Now, one thing I have to really communicate around the issues around the due, the footballs and the advertising. Like, I just have this fundamental issue. So everyone was talking about West Coast performance on Saturday night and how it related to the due and the difficult footballs to grab and all that sort of stuff. But it's so boring. We are allowed to actually play wet weather football. We have for 100 plus years in AFL. Balls are greasy. It does get challenging. We can't make them all flat wickets. I'm sorry, guys. We can't put a roof on every stadium and a dehumidifier. So just get over it. Work on your hands. Get it done. But just don't use that excuse. It shits me.
Yeah, fair enough. Shane, you had Pendlebury picked for the top gong end of season. How do you think he played? I'll let you answer that.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. I'm sure Lenny will fill us in on what the precise numbers are at the moment, but if he's not top 3 in Brownlow voting, particularly as I've just seen, hot off the press that Dusty is out this weekend against the Hawks. So I like Pendles more and more. He's a class act, and he made a couple of blues late in that game, but he certainly didn't have any issues handling that greasy footy.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyone else think Callum Brown? What happened with that last entry, boys? Should he have had a crack at marking that or what?
Very Stephen Milne-like. Shane? Very, except this one here. And what was the result of it? When Stephen Milne didn't have the courage to take one more step, it was a draw. And I don't understand how young Callum didn't just take a chest mark and then go back. Probably a difficult kick. Would have been kicking from probably just on 50, but didn't give himself the chance. Lucky it wasn't a grand final. It was round 2.
Oh, yes.
Very Milne.
Yeah. Good stuff, Nico. Thanks for that, mate.
Yeah, ouch.
Sorry,
but look, I couldn't work out if I was being a little bit harsh to him or not, but surely.
No, well found, Barndog. Well found. I completely agree.
Gave Nico a bit of fuel, mate. Good on you. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get to the preview of this week's Saturday's clash in a moment.
Hey, we don't want to spend too much time.
I cannot wait.
We don't want to spend too much time on Collingwood, guys, because a few people just got a little bit toey. So can I do the next intro, Nathan? Now, we had Geelong and Hawthorn on Friday night, and many people didn't expect this result. Nathan, did you expect the Cats to blow the Hawks away the way they did?
Did I expect it? Probably not the scoreline. I thought I was confident Geelong would get up. I had a couple of conversations with a few mates. Shout out to Glenn. But look, I'm a big fan of Geelong, even on paper. Everyone's so quick to write them off. I think they've got too much experience, too much quality. And if you have a look at the shortened quarters, surely that's got to only play into Geelong's game plan and they're in the older gents. And also some of your less experienced teams like my boys, the Gold Coast Suns. I think that's going to play into their favour as well. But did I see this scoreline? No. Did I see Geelong winning comfortably? Yes. Shano?
Agreed. Yeah, look, they're going to absolutely lap up their time down at the Cattery. They're playing teams there for the first time in decades in some cases. So, look, I'm so glad that they've actually bitten the bullet. Gary Ablett, you're playing as a key forward. He could win the Coleman if you give him the time down there. He was still working through the midfield last year. They had to pull, Nakai Cockatoo. I know he didn't play on the weekend, but Parfit and the other chap escapes me, but they had to actually start to bring through some youth into that midfield. They're doing it, and it's a pretty dangerous proposition when the ball comes to that half forward line. Gaz still has the capacity to kick it from over 50. He has the great vision and ability to set it up. So he's going to be an X factor big time because he's such a star, and he's just going to see out his final years kicking big loads of snags.
Would they have won by 10 goals at the MCG, you reckon? Like that's playing down.
It would have been 12. 12.
Nathan, being down.
Where are we with?
Colder too. Colder down in Geelong. Colder in Geelong. Crowds not a factor. We know that. Very narrow. They are narrow down that way.
Where are we with Hawthorn, gents? Was it more a reflection on Geelong playing well, or are there more serious issues with Hawthorn? Shano?
I don't think so, mate. Look, they beat up on a pretty disappointing Lions outfit round 1. Mitchell's coming back. O'Meara missed on the weekend. They've got John Patton down there as their big pivotal spearhead, which he's nowhere near that. So, look, there's a lot of people I know who are Hawthorn supporters, and I'm just really hoping that they go through a couple of years of genuine challenge. So I can't see this squad making the 8. I see them sort of being that 10 through 14 sort of team. There's not enough quality across the sixes in that team, in my view.
Where are we with Wingard? I think at his best, brilliant to watch, but question marks. Nick, any thoughts?
I wanted to ask him a couple of questions after the game, but he wouldn't speak to me. He's only doing his own media. He's just doing his own media. He doesn't trust the media, and we're the media. This is the media, so I couldn't get a gauge on where he's at. But I did listen to another astute, what do you call these podcasts, private publications. Hawthorn had 11 of their 22 players the other night against Geelong who have come from other clubs. So that's if this was Q&A, we'd leave that as a standing statement. But half their side have previously played for other clubs. So,
yeah, fair enough. All right, let's move it on, boys. So we got an interesting one. We had Fremantle just getting pipped there by the Lions. Shano, would have been nice to see with a full crowd at the Gabba, obviously, but what was your take on here?
Yeah, they would have at least got about 8 to 9 there on the weekend, I reckon, with full capacity. It's look, Freo don't generally draw a big crowd, but look, it was a really strange game. It was stop-start in a way. It was Fife started very slowly, and Neil came out of the blocks very, very hard. Fife came into the game. Taberner, that I just don't understand how that worked at the start of the fourth quarter there, where there was an obvious grab. The goal umpire clearly said to the field umpire that was a mark, and he, for some reason, just ignored him and called it a point. But independently, they are a more rounded squad, the Lions, but they're in second or third gear at the moment. It'll be a cracker this week against a rebounding West Coast.
Yeah, I actually seen the Lions versus the Suns in one of the preseason matches. Shout out to Antonio and Nick and Michelle and Maddie. But we saw Charlie Cameron play it, and back then he looked good, man. He looked real fit and a fighting spirit, which is always good to see. But Nick, any thoughts on this game, mate?
Yeah, I'll ice the cake from what you boys have said. Charlie Cameron is a star, and of all of the players that everyone's talking about this week that Adelaide have lost, he's their biggest loss, and I'll include Dangerfield in that. But hang on.
Oh,
wow. Hang on.
All right, okay.
So I'm not saying he's a better player than Patrick Dangerfield, but what I'm saying is what Charlie Cameron's added to Brisbane. So it's like having a bucket with a little bit of water in it. He's added a lot of water to it. Dangerfield went to a bucket that had a fair bit of water in it, and he added more water to it. So what I'm saying, impact-wise, Charlie Cameron on Brisbane has been more than Dangerfield on Geelong. Patrick Dangerfield's a better player than Charlie Cameron, but that's my point. But I would say that the worst umpiring decision of the round was in the Brisbane Fremantle game. That was a mark, and there's no need to talk about the little bloke with a brain injury from Richmond. We won't talk about that. The cost Collingwood of the game. We won't talk about that. But the worst umpiring decision for the round was comfortably the Fremantle mark in the goal square, which would have changed the result of the game.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's move on, boys. So we got another strange game. Look, I loved the round of footy, but Carlton. What do you say about Carlton? Obviously, they went down by 1 point to Melbourne. I think they kicked their first goal with shittle time left in the second quarter. They've had question marks on them for a very, very long time, and the narrative's been the same. They're on the up. Stick with us. Shane, if you were a Carlton Blues supporter, would you go to the first match where they open the gates up properly?
For sure, mate. Well, credit where credit's due. They have started both games so far in terrible fashion. I think the scoreline in the end against Richmond flattered them. They weren't anywhere near a sort of a 4 or 5 goal worse side than the Tigers. But on the weekend, mate, they dug deep. They were gritty halfway through the second quarter until they somehow found a way to actually lose that game and actually lose a 3-leg multi that was loading up for me very nicely. But, mate, they're showing grit.
How much did they lose? How much did they lose, Shane?
No. I never had faith in them actually getting over the line, so I didn't lose a lot. I lost a little bit. But, anywho, no, they're gritty. You can't knock a team that is going to, if they're down, if they struggle, if they start a quarter slowly, if they dig and have a crack, you're always, and this is coming from a St Kilda man who's grappled over many journeys. So they're not the most talented squad out there by any stretch, but they're having a dip, which is that's all a supporter can ask.
Yeah, fair enough. Nick, who was worse, mate? Who was worse or who was better? I mean, which way are you going to frame that question, first of all? Question marks over both teams. And look, a little bit being said, I might get your thoughts here, Nick. I don't have many. I pretty much dismissed it, but a few thoughts around, a few of the Melbourne boys missing out on the team song end of the match. Is there anything there, or just a bit of miscommunication?
I've got some breaking news. I can tell you where they were. So it wasn't just Max Gawn, the captain of the football club, who missed out on singing the song. It was also a couple of guys who had the chance to sing it for the first time. He was with three of them. And this is going to sound humorous, but it's factual. My mail is correct. Max took the first time winners of the Melbourne Football Club down to the cardboard cheer squad to high five the cardboard. That is fact. And
that is fact.
So yeah, absolutely. So what's worse? What's worse, having Max do that, quite humorous, or having your football club not realise that there's a 6'8" man, your captain, who's pretty, like, he's got a rude head. He sticks out. Plus three other players not present for the song. I mean, the song is one of the most unique spiritual parts of our game, although it looks a bit rugby league like at the moment, with people banging on bins and not putting their arms around each other. Ridiculous. But back on your other point, who was worse? Melbourne was worse, because Melbourne played in the prelim 2 years ago and Carlton have been terrible for 20 years. So if it wasn't for Richmond and Collingwood, this was comfortably the worst game of the round.
All right. So going from the worst, so fair enough, from the worst game of the round to quite possibly one of, if not the biggest win in the Gold Coast Suns franchise history. Getting the Chockies over the West Coast Eagles there. I think it's fair to say 98.7% of people did not see the scoreline at all. Shane, mate, look, I enjoyed every second of it. So the first win since 2017 against the Eagles, I heard. Didn't do that research myself at all, so cheers for whoever told me that. But Shane, did you watch the game, mate? If not, how were the highlights?
I did, absolutely, yeah. So the alternative game, the Port Adelaide versus Adelaide, was done after at least 11 minutes. So I was surprised. I was really happy. I think that Matty Rowder's having a quick look, $1.30 for the Rising Star. Get some dollars on him for the top 10 for the Brownlow. He is a sort of untaggable type. He's going to go in there. He is going to get more attention, of course, but they might look at their prime movers like Weller and some of those Fiorini and some of those other guys around the ball. But he's just a little nugget who's going to get a lot of the pill, a bit like Tom Mitchell. He'll find it. Outstanding. Him and Anderson coming in, King, Lukosius, and Ainsworth and these sort of guys who 2021, great for the comp. And there's been no talk. I'm really thankful there's been no talk about the hub and how that might have impacted on West Coast preparation, blah, blah, blah. Royal Pines, I'm sure they can handle it for a couple of weeks. But, mate, outstanding for the comp and massive upset, which just makes every other game from here very exciting.
Nick, it was a big win. I'm not sure if you give more ticks to Gold Coast or you have some question marks over West Coast performance, you'd probably dismiss it. But I think something, and we'll get into a few of the other upsets in a moment, but, I think people are very quick to kind of dismiss this round, and they're throwing all the excuses in the world. Oh, we've had a disrupted start and this, that, the other, and we, we're mental state, which are all valid points. However, no one's going to give a shit at the end of the season where you've got about 8 different teams trying to fight out for that last 4 spots in the top 8. So a game like this where West Coast really probably budgeted for this victory, look, it very well could cost them a top 4 spot end of the year. So I think as quick as everyone is to dismiss some of these games that some of these clubs should have won, just be very careful, because it's a very close competition. There has been for the last 11 and a half years. So, Nick, how do you see this one, mate? And are there question marks over West Coast? Do we dismiss it easily? Anything that you take from it?
Yeah, I don't think you can dismiss it, but I think it was the most feel-good. It's probably the out of all the games I watched on the weekend, which I watched most of, it was the most feel-good. I think the Gold Coast Suns, and I said this in our little pre-game, I think they're fast becoming everyone's second favourite team for the fact that they're good to watch. They weren't good to watch in round one 80-odd days ago, but they were good to watch on the weekend. And I think that these young guys, we were talking about the draft age before, if they can hang on to these guys, the Gold Coast will be a serious side in 3 years' time. And it might even be quicker. Like if they get on a roll with the way that this year's structured, they could sneak into the 8. I said that audibly. They could sneak into the 8. Yeah. Sorry, Shane. That's St Kilda in the comp, so there's another 4 points. But as far as West Coast go, I'm glad that I haven't seen much commentary about people saying, "Oh, the hubs and whatnot." I did see that Andrew Gaff's birthday today. He was playing golf at Royal Pines. They're going to finish with 7 or 8 games straight at home, the way that the Western Australian Premier is carrying on like a pork chop. So, wrap for the Suns. I'm excited to continue to watch them and see where this takes them. But the very difficult thing for young sides is the week after a game like this. So let's see what they do this week.
Yep.
I think you touched on a very important aspect there, Nick, with the Gold Coast Suns. Is traditionally you just get a feel that I've been very critical of the recruitment strategy from day dot, really. And then from that, probably the culture as well. They really struggled to hold on to some of these young guns coming through. But you just get a feel that it's a new side. Obviously, a new coach-ish anyway. Yeah, mate, I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited, especially now that we're probably going to finish 2 spots higher than St Kilda. So that's going to be very fun for me at the end of the year.
Wager? Is there a wager there?
There's always a wager. So
right.
do we want to have a 3-minute conversation off air and then bring it to our fans next week?
Next week for sure.
Or you want?
No,
let's lay
next
down
week
now.
for sure.
Let's lay down now.
No. We'll do it next week. We'll throw some barbs over the weekend and we'll get something arranged for Wednesday next week.
Look forward to it. All right, Shane. While we got you on the hot spot, talk us through the next one, mate. Port Adelaide, absolutely smashing Adelaide. Who was it? Adelaide. I tipped Adelaide and Sydney. I think I tipped for 2 of the biggest slides of the year. But how do you take this one, mate? Lots of question marks again. That seems to be the hot word for myself tonight. But Port Adelaide looked good.
Look, I couldn't imagine being. Port Adelaide were excellent. They're fun to watch. They're busy. They're intense. Their kids are guns. Their forward line is dangerous and all that. But so were there 400 Adelaide supporters? Is that the arrangement? So 2,000 across Adelaide Oval. There might have been 400 Adelaide members who were allowed in. Look, you just wouldn't want to watch your side. Talking about Carlton before and how they're gritty. They toil across the entire field. Look, I can't see where improvement's going to come from. The Crouch boys are there, they're guns, and they are just inefficient with their ball use. They don't create any drive. There's just an absolute lack of energy and excitement across that football club. Mark Rasciuto is coming on every couple of days to try and sort of douse the fire, but out of any team, any professional sporting team across Australia's landscape right now, they're diabolical. They've got so many issues, and I just don't know where to start.
They've replaced Gold Coast as far as the club with the biggest issues. That's not just because Gold Coast had a good win against West Coast. It might have helped a little bit, but if you want to ask about problems in the AFL, most people are going to be talking about Adelaide and what is going on down there. Like, it's just players leaving, camps, different ways of doing things, past players talking out about stuff. I think the fact that they're based in South Australia is also a problem because it's not the best place to travel to. But I would say that Port Adelaide were very good, but don't be. I just hope Port Adelaide don't get ahead of themselves because Adelaide are pretty ordinary. So winning by 70-odd points against Adelaide it's really like you tick it and move on. And I know that Kenny Hinkley is a very good coach. Do rate Kenny highly. I think he'd do it with the boys. He'd say tick it and move on. And looking forward to seeing them back in their teal-coloured jumper this week.
Fair enough. I just want to have a quick little shout out for Motlop too. Took an absolute screamer, third quarter I think it was. But the best thing about it, not just the grab, but to just take a few steps back, take his time, set shot, and actually convert. There's nothing worse than seeing some beautiful poetry in motion, some bloke getting high, you can say that, and then not being able to convert at the back end of it. So props to Motlop there. But let's move on. Shano, GWS versus North Melbourne. An intriguing game, mate. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, the Kangas, and watching them very closely in round one against my boys, they just keep coming. They across the field, they've just got this pack mentality. They run, they hunt, they tackle. Zeeble and Cunnington are leading from the front, but they're kids, and they're 23, 24-year-olds. I don't know, Jai Simpkin and some of those guys who are the talented juniors who are coming through. They're just the shinbone of spirit is alive and well down there at Arden Street. They are feverish. No one likes to play, independent of how classy or good a team you are. If someone's going to come at you for, I'd like to say 120 minutes, but what's the new equation? Say 100 minutes. It's difficult to knock those sides off. They're fit,
60,
they're hungry.
64 plus time on.
Not bad, Nico. Not bad.
I'm a math teacher.
But yeah, they went up there with a very specific mentality, and they executed. They were ruthless against a quality opposition.
It's strange, isn't it, that you've got a football club in North Melbourne who play it's a very robust sort of rugged style of football, which is just completely opposed to the way that their coach played over 200 games at AFL level. Like good on your Reece Shaw, like great stuff. But I mean, geez, GWS, many people have said that the flag is theirs, that they've just got this great list. When you look at the two new franchises and the way they've done things far better than the Gold Coast in a number of areas, but it's slipping away. Like if they can't keep this squad together, we know that Jeremy Cameron's going to be one of the prized free agents at the end of the year. A 20-point loss to North Melbourne, who is a middle of the road to mid-lower. There'd be some questions at GWS, but in saying that, we're saying like media experts here, it's round 2 after an 80-day break. So North take the points, and they move on to the next one. And GWS I'm confident, will bounce back very strongly this week.
Yeah, fair play, well put. All right, let's move on to Essendon. Getting the chockies there over Sydney. Sydney, I'm not going to say any more about Sydney. I'm well quoted there. But Shano, look, I love watching McDonald, Tip and Woody play as well. It's one of my favourite players to watch. His hunger for the footy, the pressure that he provides.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's start with Essendon with yourself, Shane. I've been hoping to see them, I guess, perform consistently for a couple of seasons now. I guess on paper, I think I just expect more. I don't know if I'm judging them a little bit too harshly, but where do you put Essendon, and then move on to Sydney, mate?
So Essendon, they're okay. Like they're the two pretty average sides. I don't look. They've got Sydney are very, very young across the board, and they missed the big Budster, and I think they have to just start working around what is life after Buddy. That's coming through fairly clearly. Essendon, but they're pretty solid across the field. They're okay. They don't have tremendous star power. Tip and Woody's a gun. He comes in and out of the game, kicks you a couple, and then contributes up the field a little bit. But two pretty average sides. I can't see either of them making the 8, to be honest. They was a bit of a toil. There was a bit of to and fro, but there was nothing particularly exciting about the brand of either team, which goes, hang on, look out round 3 and 4. They're in a really exciting trajectory. I can't see it from either of those squads.
Nick, I just want to draw your attention quickly. Get your thoughts on, I think it was about 2.5 minutes left. You had that incident where both players are running for the ball. One player marks it. Look, he dropped the shoulder a little bit. It was probably there, but he gets pinged for 50. Now, as I said, I think it was there. I think it was literally a little bit extra than probably needed to be put on. But in your humblest of opinions, 50 metres?
The problem with this rule is the way that it's the inconsistency in the way that it's interpreted, and you can it's argued either way from the weekend's game. But what I would say is Shane hit the nail on the head in terms of where both these clubs are at. I think, did we not say Sydney in our little pilot? Sydney were going to be struggling down near the bottom end.
Deep sliders. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, Essendon might be in a position, I'm not sure contractual wise, but they've got some, I know they've got Dylan Shield in, and he was pretty good from, I'll be honest, I didn't see all the game, but I saw most of the second half. But Dylan Shield, Zachy Merritt, Darcy Parish is the player. These guys are going to get to a point like most of this generation where they get hungry for success and start to look left and right. So Essendon need to probably, we talk about the Gold Coast wanting to keep their young guys together. Essendon need to keep these guys together because they haven't won a final for, help me Shane, they haven't won a final for 10 years more.
Yeah, 10 plus. 10 plus. I'm trying to think of the last one, but I'm sure Lenny can help us out. But yeah, look, and they haven't really threatened competitions in that time. They might have drifted into an 8th or a 7th spot and got tumbled out week 1. So I agree with you, Nico. It'll be interesting to see how that, in any sort of talented youth that does roll through, whether they want to hang around and be there for long haul.
They'd be regretting the Danaher thing. I think they should have, there was pick 5 on the table for him. They didn't take it. The longer he is not seen, his value is diminishing. So I don't know where that'll sit at the end of the year. And it was funny that the club he wants to go to was the club that his side played on the weekend. So who knows where that'll fall in 6 months' time.
Will he play this year, Nico? And Barndog? Do you think he'll come out there and lace his boots up? Because the VFL's returning. So would he come back to VFL, play a couple of tokens?
No, he can't. No, Shane, no. So the AFL players
sorry, the scratch matches. Yep, sorry.
I'll get Barndog again. You tipped him for the Brownlow last year, Barndog. You said, and look, I'm not throwing under the bus here, but you said that his game is one that is eye-catching and he's the type of key position player. So away from the midfield award, and that's where it goes all the time, but he's the type of player that could steal it. Do you think, 1, will he get back, Doggy? And 2, if he does, is it at the Essendon Footy Club?
I don't think he'll stay with Essendon, no. I think it'll be I think they'll part ways. It'll be a mutual parting, as they say. I think he's got to get his body right, obviously. If he can play some consistent football and find some of the form, that made him so attractive to watch, then, I still think that potentially, and this is at a stretch, can he win the Brownlow? Look, I was probably a little bit out of line there, but I'm going to go on the record to say Joe Danaher can win the Brownlow in 2023. That'll be his last shot.
Yeah, the Gold Coast Suns will win 3 premierships before a player like Joe Danaher ever wins an individual award.
Is that the triple peak though, or just 3?
Well, if the AFL introduce, say, like another couple of teams, and then they compromise the draft the way they've done when they've done that new franchise previously, then it opens the door for a club to win back to back to back like Hawthorn did. So, or maybe give clubs an extra couple of $1 million like Brisbane did in the early 2000s. Who's counting?
Fantastic. Look, let's move on, gents. We're just getting aware of time here, but Shano, mate, your boys had a field day. Talk us through it, mate. Congratulations.
Dominant. They were great to watch, and the most exciting thing from my end is just we had spent some big dollars of the AFL money, so keep it up, guys. But our new recruits all performed and essentially did all the things that we were thinking about pre-trade week. Zach Jones came in, was tough. Butler was up the ground and zippy. Ryder played an important cutout role. Brad Hill's an absolute. He's one of the best wingers in the league. So overall, great result for the boys, and can't wait for Saturday to see if they can back it up.
Yeah, nice. And Nick, shout out to Lenny, our sideline stats guru. 2004 was last time Essendon Bombers took the flag.
2004, so we were being generous in saying 10 years. It's been 16, but I'll only add one thing to the St Kilda contest, boys, and it's very rare that when you put all your new recruits in for a game, they all contribute and all do very well. I think the last time a football club put all their recruits in for a game and they did well was the Springwood Pumas in 2006.
Ooh, and what a great game that was, Nick. What a fantastic
Absolutely.
game that was. All right, boys. Let's just let's go through this round. We'll fly through some tips. And just for our raving fans, quick shout out to the Russian girls as well. But we're going to keep. We're going. Yeah, my wife will kill me. But we're going to keep a score of how we track with these tips. It's fine, babe. Relax. But yeah, so we'll fly through it and feel free to throw some comments in. But we've got 10 minutes. So Shane, Richmond Tigers versus Hawthorn Hawks, kicking off the round. Who are you tipping, brother?
Tigers by a couple of goals. Yep.
Nick?
Richmond 60 plus.
Whoa! Big Nico.
60 plus. As George more bundle, I'm just going bang here, man. I'm inside 50 and I'm not handballing. I'm just going bang. I'm going straight to
2006, absolutely.
Western Bulldogs versus GWS. Both teams have a lot to, I guess, show in this game. So, Nick, Bulldogs, Giants.
Geez, the Dogs have been very ordinary. I'm going to tip the Giants purely on list ranking. Just.
Shane?
Livers back, Doggies by 10
points.
Either of you boys got a coin?
Points.
Either of you boys got a coin on there? Get some theatrics of the show?
I've only carried notes, mate.
I only carry cards because we were told by our government in the current COVID environment you shouldn't handle cash.
Oh,
we're going a cashless society, but anyway, one world government, all that. But Bulldogs versus GWS, this is a freaking tough one. I'm going to Nate Dog. I'll go the Giants. All right, so Nicky J, North Melbourne versus Sydney Swans. I think this will be a very good test to see where the Kangas are at against a lackluster Sydney side.
Kanga, roo.
Shana.
God. Oh, sorry, I can't. Yeah, I can't follow that. Kangas convincingly. Can
you just attempt to do exactly what Nick did just then? I just want to see you do it in the hat. That's all. Just my own.
Kanga. Roo. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
quality
nice.
stuff. Wait till I chop that one up, boys. But
good stuff.
I think you guys are all over it. So, Nicky J, your boys versus Shano's boys. So I'll tell you what we're going to do here, Jen. So I'm going to tip first, and I'm going to tip comfortably Bulldogs. Nick, I'm going to put your tip there as well. And I'm going to give you both a maximum of 2 sentences as to why your team should win. I want to apologise for letting you go. Shane, I assumed you were going to tip St Kilda, mate. We might start with yourself. Do you want to tip Collingwood?
Oh, absolutely not. No. Saints, hopefully not a whole lot of dew because I think it's going to interrupt us a little bit. But on the Big G, I don't think we'll mind that. We play quite well there. 4:35 on a Saturday. Quicker midfield and a pretty dangerous forward line. So more than 2 sentences, sorry, but kind of freaking Saints.
I'm going to withdraw that vote on disqualification. I gave you 2 sentences, and that was a blatant disregard of the rules. So
there are a couple of commas in there, mate.
Do you genuinely think St Kilda can win? I won't press you on it. Is that,
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, yep. No doubt. Very confident.
Cool. Nick, I assume Pies?
No doubt. Are you talking about the band, Shane?
What?
No doubt. They're a band.
Don't speak.
Sorry, Barnier, you tipped the Bulldogs in this game. You tipped the Bulldogs in the Collingwood St Kilda game. Just want to clarify that you're still tipping the Dogs in the Collingwood St Kilda game.
What are you talking about? Where are we?
Yeah, you did.
You said you did.
You Pies or Saints here, mate?
Oh, right. Yeah, no.
Because you said you tipped first. Yeah. So this is not my 2 sentences.
Gotcha.
Whew, that Brisbane water.
Quality. All right, Nick, 2 sentences. Go on then.
So you're not telling us who you're tipping?
I'm going Collingwood.
Okay, good. So I've got 2 sentences starting from now. 2,000 cardboard cutouts, comma, should put some fear into the Pies, full stop. Tune in to a potential live quarter by quarter update with Shane and Nick going live for the Pies. That's if Shane's allowed to. For the Pies, just to sneak in.
Just to sneak in.
Yeah, just to sneak in by just under the line, 39.5. Just under.
Fair enough. Geelong Carlton, I'll go the Cats comfortably.
Cats. Meow.
Everyone?
You can't tip Carlton.
Where we got? You boys got Geelong top 4 now with the shortened quarters, all that kind of stuff, or what?
Yeah. Yep. I'm happy with that. They're regular season bullies. They'll attack it down there. They've got enough quality. Just don't know whether they got that next year to enable them in October or November, whenever it is this year.
Yeah, the more footy they play at MDMA Stadium, the more chance they've got of getting into that top 4.
What do you call it?
I try to keep a straight face.
You would have had it too. But
right,
this is actually a decent one. Brisbane Lions versus West Coast Eagles.
And there's a crowd. There's a crowd allowed in.
Holy shit! All right,
Yeah.
Nick, what do you reckon, brother?
I was at the Gabba last year when Brisbane defeated West Coast in round 1, and they will beat them again. I haven't been impressed with Brisbane's start to the year because Fremantle are ordinary and Hawthorn beat them, and Hawthorn are ordinary. But I reckon that the Lions will. Grant Birchall in his 250th, his second game for the Lions, but they'll still, fanfare. Brisbane will beat them.
Eagles by a couple.
Interesting. Look, I'm going to go the Lions in that one. I think they might just get up there. At least I hope so. All right, my boys, Gold Coast Suns versus Adelaide Crows. This is probably a good test for them. I think they'll be flying high, and I think they will outdo the Adelaide Crows. Nick?
I think Adelaide will lead at every change for the Gold Coast to sneak home. It'll be wet too. I haven't seen a weather report, but why not just say it'll be wet and the Suns will sneak home in front of a crowd, 2,000 people there.
So interesting. So 2,000 people there.
That'll be like a normal home game for them. Put them ching. Yep. Try the veal.
Fantastic.
If there was a competing game at 1:05 p.m. across any sport, I'd probably be watching it. But I'll sneak in for the first half of this and watch the Suns go well. I hope they just continue that free flowing, joyous young approach. It's very enticing to watch.
So Suns?
For sure.
Lovely. All right, Shano. Essendon versus Melbourne. Look, if you weren't going to watch the last one, surely not this one. But, look, mate, I'll start with you while I ponder this over. So Essendon versus Melbourne, Shane?
Bombers, I think, off a bit of winning form. Only the one game, but I know the Demons also stuck home, but they didn't really play footy for the final 3 quarters of that match. So Bombers in a fairly lackluster affair.
Nick?
I don't reckon I'll choose to watch this game, to be honest. Nothing at all excites me about it. But one thing's for sure, if Melbourne win, there'll be a long pause and delay and a head count before they sing the song.
Yeah.
I don't care who wins, but I have to pick someone.
Yep.
I'll go Essendon just.
I think we've all gone Essendon. Jason Bates has gone Essendon as well. So on the back of that, I'll pick the Bombers. Shano, Fremantle v Port Adelaide. Interesting one for you, brother.
Yeah, Port's first week after a big win up here in the SEQ hub. So Port, they played exciting footy. I think they'll enjoy the trip out of the Adelaide scrutiny. So I think they'll be too strong for the Dockers for sure. Yep, power.
Nicky?
This will be a trivia question in years to come. Fremantle from Western Australia versus Port Adelaide from South Australia at Metricon Stadium on the Gold Coast. And it'll be a game that no one will ever want to put on the replay. I think Port Adelaide will win by 60 plus. That's the second game I said 60 plus. But yeah, and hopefully they wear one of their original jumpers, which was magenta, which is similar to the shirt you're wearing now, Nathan. Magenta. Not
Thank you
black
very
and white
much.
stripes, magenta.
No. Interesting. And this is aggressive salmon, but pink was also originally a boy's colour. But gents, it's been fun. What are you up and about this week, Nicky J?
I'm going to go down a political road here if I can. I'm up and about the Victorian Labor Party. I think that Daniel Andrews has done an outstanding job leading Victoria through the coronavirus crisis. But then to see the 60 Minutes expose on Sunday night, he would have to be leading one of the most corrupt governments in maybe not even, well, we'll settle it down, in Australian history. And that includes old pumpkin scone maker from up here, Joe Boy. So I'm up and about the Victorian Labor Party, but it's just a shame that there's absolutely nothing in opposition down there to challenge. So that's what I'm up and about. Shane, what are you up and about?
I'm up and about that particular state opening their borders and offering us an opportunity to spend a week on or in their slopes, in their beautiful terrain up in the northeast. And just a quick sing out to our friends down at Mount Hotham. We're currently investigating a few accommodation options down there. So Hotham Holidays, feel free to reach out throughout the week. We'd be happy to do a podcast on a Wednesday while we're down there enjoying the tremendous facilities and offerings that Mount Hotham brings to a lot of very satisfied skiers and snowboarders across the land. So that's what I'm up and about.
I love it. It's funny you say that, Shane. We've had a few little cheeky DM messages from people just asking the question about, I guess, product placements or that kind of stuff. Just to make it clear, we're not doing this shit for free. So pay up. But anyway.
What do you mean? What are they saying?
Perfect. You wouldn't believe it, mate. You wouldn't believe it. But I am up and about getting Wi-Fi on, what's today? Wednesday. All right, gents. Thursday, mate. I'm getting Wi-Fi. We're on the mobile data. There's no light here. It's atrocious. This thing nearly didn't go ahead, but in true up and about podcast fashion, here we are, ladies and gents, delivering once again. So Nicky J, Shane-O, always a pleasure, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the football.
Guys. We'll see you next week. Is that what we're going to say this week? We're not going to be on a hiatus. We're not going into lockdown for 2 weeks.
No. Look, I am sleeping comfortably next to the wife every night, so I'll get my just desserts every night. And
Wednesday 7:30.
Wednesday 7:30. We're locking it in, ladies and gents. So should we just steal Ellen's line? Or that be safe to each other or some shit? Well, watch the footy. Enjoy it. We're out. See you, gents.
Catch ya.
Cheers.